Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ramo,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe. Jayo Gauranitai, 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 Jayo Gauranitai, Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज जी की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं सागरजाता सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, welcome you all to today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam as part of the Bhakti Vaibhav session. So we saw last time, last two sessions, how Srila Narada Muni, he first at the beginning of this particular chapter, Srila Narada Muni inquires Lord Brahma about the soul, the super soul, and 6 different inquiries about this cosmic manifestation, about this universe, how it has been created, what are its ingredients, and on which specific shelter this specific cosmic manifestation reside. So all these inquiries, and then he glorified the Lord by saying that you are all knowing, you are all independent, and you, it appears as if you are creating this cosmic manifestation completely on your own, and so on and so forth. And then Brahmaji, in all his humility, we see in the specific text, in text number 11, Brahmaji mentions that, my dear Narada, so he clarifies the second part of Narada Muni's inquiry, specifically related to Brahmaji's own potency and glorification of Brahmaji's potency. He clarifies that misconception, false conviction of Srila Narada Muni by confirming that he is not the, he is not the primary creator. He mentions Rochitam Rochayami Aham, that my dear Narada, my dear boy Narada, because Narada Muni is Brahmaji's son, I, that means Lord Brahma, he creates using his potency, whatever Krishna has awarded to him, what has already been created by the Supreme Lord. Like this point will be covered in one of the verses today as well, that Brahmaji refuses to take credit that is not due to him, which was given by Srila Narada Muni, by confirming that it is the Supreme Lord, my dear Narada, who actually creates, and I create just on top of it as a secondary creator. And then Brahmaji also mentions that those personalities who are afflicted by the external Maya potency of the Lord, external energy of the Lord, influenced by the Maya energy, they think any ordinary personality who is able to perform any great mystic feat or any great material task not possible for a ordinary human being, such personalities who are affected by Maya, they consider such other great personalities like on the platform of Supreme Lord, being influenced by Maya. So in a loving way, Brahmaji is chastising Narada Muni that what you are saying, that I being the creator or supremely independent in my process of creation, is under the influence of the external energy of the Lord. And we also saw in great detail that how, for the benefit of common people in general, sometimes Lord Krishna puts his even great devotees like Yudhishthir Maharaj, Arjun, Parikshit Maharaj, and in this case, Narada Muni into bewilderment, into confusion, so that the message that is meant for the upliftment, for the enlightenment of people in general can be decimated. So devotees are made just as an example. They are used just as an example of by the Lord because they are very dear to the Lord. So Lord always prefers to use somebody who is very close to him to set a very glaring example for all people to follow. And after this, false conceptions by Srila Narada Muni are clarified. In fact, there are two more verses that are pending in this particular section, text number 12 and text number 13, which we'll discuss now. Lord Brahma then offers his obeisances unto the Supreme Lord before beginning to answer the original inquiries made by Narada Muni, which were related to the soul, the super soul, and the universe. So we'll start with this particular verse. Those devotees who would like to recite or read through Prabhuji's Mataji's, please keep your hands raised and we'll request devotees one by one. Hare Krishna, Lalita Vinodini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tasmai Namo Bhagavate.
Tasmai
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya Dhimahi.
Vasudevaya
Dhimahi.
Yanmaya Durjayaya.
Mayaya
Durjaya
Mam Vadanti Jagadgurum.
Mam
Vadanti Jagadgurum.
Guru. Translation.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna, who is Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, whose invincible potency influences them, that is the less intelligent class of men, to call me the Supreme Controller. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, ma'am.
Purport. As will be more clearly explained in the next verse, the illusory potency of the Lord bewilders the less intelligent to accept Brahmaji, or for that matter any other person, as the Supreme Lord. Brahmaji, however, refuses to be called this, and he directly offers his respectful obeisances unto Lord Vasudeva or Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, as he has already offered the same respects to him in Brahma Samhita 5.1. Should I continue?
Yes, complete purport.
Yeah. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarvakarana Karanam. Then the highlighted one, no, Prabhuji?
No, complete one.
Okay. The Supreme Lord is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord in his transcendental body, the ultimate cause of all causes. I worship that primeval Lord Govinda. Brahmaji is conscious of his actual position and he knows how less intelligent persons, bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord, whimsically accepts anyone and everyone as God. A responsible personality like Brahmaji refuses to be addressed as the Supreme Lord by his disciples or subordinates, but foolish persons praised by men of the nature of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses feel flattered to be addressed as the Supreme Lord. Why such persons take pleasure is in being addressed as God, or why such persons are addressed as God by foolish admirers is explained in the following verse. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. So we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada, in the, if I remember correctly, it was when Srila Prabhupada had come back to India after establishing International Society for Krishna Consciousness in the West due to his severe bad health. And we see that few of his disciples, specifically 4 of his disciples who were leading men in the moment at that particular point in time, somehow got this particular idea and they started even propagating it within the moment that Srila Prabhupada is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and because we have not been able to serve him properly, he has got upset and gone back to India. And when Srila Prabhupada came to know about this, he was furious. And First, before taking this specific set of 4 devotees to task, he chastises all other disciples who were very closely connected with Srila Prabhupada and used to take regular instructions. Even when Srila Prabhupada was away in a foreign land, they used to write telegram and all and keep regular connect to get instructions, letters and all, and they used to get responses to their queries from Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada first of all chastised all other devotees who were accepting these nonsense claims that these 4 devotees were claiming. And he said, "Are you not reading my books properly? How many times in my books have I stated that a Jiva soul, a living entity, is eternally part and parcel and a servant of the Lord? A living entity can never become equal to the Lord, and the Lord never becomes the Lord. The Lord is always the Supreme Lord." And then, after chastising the devotees and asking them to read his books properly, and defeat any misconception that is not as per the philosophy and the tattva that Srila Prabhupada has taught in his books. Then he turned his attention to these 4 devotees, and Srila Prabhupada was very heavy on them. Not only did he chastise them, but he expelled them from the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He basically took them out from ISKCON as a moment, and the devotees were very sorry for their misunderstanding and misconduct in terms of trying to propagate this false propaganda within the movement and confuse all other devotees. They begged forgiveness to Srila Prabhupada, asking for one more chance to reinstate themselves and correct their mistake. And Srila Prabhupada allowed them back in the moment only on one specific condition. Srila Prabhupada said, Srila Prabhupada basically asked all these 4 devotees to go to 4 different new places and establish the centers of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and that would be their punishment. So we can learn many lessons from this particular episode from Srila Prabhupada's lives. First of all, how heavy Srila Prabhupada was on condemning these misconceptions of considering any jiva soul. I don't want to use the word ordinary because Srila Prabhupada is not definitely not ordinary. He is an empowered personality who is empowered by the Lord to preach all over the world to spread the glories of the Lord. So, but to consider even great personalities, a jiva soul, to be equal to God or God Himself, this is a great misconception. And we see even sometimes great souls, they are caused to have this bewilderment by the inconceivable energy of the Lord, so that the common masses of people can be enlightened, can be corrected. So we see one thing, how Srila Prabhupada was heavy. He did not think twice before expelling these 4 devotees out of the moment. But when they begged forgiveness, he was also not hard-hearted to abandon them completely, but give them a chance to reinstate, to get reinstated properly in the moment, and give them a punishment which, along with it may seem as a punishment externally, but ultimately it would lead to upliftment and purification for all these devotees. So he gave them a punishment where they had to, all 4 had to go to 4 different new places, then open the centers of Hare Krishna movement. So this is how even the punishment given by such great souls, they cause one to advance in Krishna consciousness. Like we also see in the case of the Devatas, the sons of the Kuvera, Nala Kuver and Manigriv, that when they commit very grave offense at the lotus feet of Sri Narada Muni, while he condemns them and gives them a punishment which apparently seems like a curse, but ultimately they have the greatest benediction of witnessing the childhood pastimes of the Lord, and ultimately get liberated by the Lord Himself from that lowly body of the trees. So it is mentioned that after Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai and Rohini, if somebody would have really witnessed all the childhood pastimes when before Krishna and Balaram started herding the calves, before they started going out of their homes to herd the calves, these two personalities, Nala Kuber and Manigriv, they got the fortune, good fortune, to witness all the childhood pastimes of the Lord, apart from these three personalities, Nanda Maharaj, Yashodamai, and Rohini. So here also we see Brahmaji, he is basically continuing his chastisement in a loving way to Srila Narada Muni by saying that those who are influenced by the potency, material energy, Maya Shakti of the Lord, the less intelligent class of men, they sometimes refer to me, that means Lord Brahma, as the supreme controller. And here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is also uh, giving reference to what kind of people they actually. I wanted to find another verse, but I'm not exactly find it. Maybe some of you can help later on. That there is a verse in Bhagavatam, the men of the category of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, they praise other men who are of the similar category of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Why? What does it mean? That sometimes some unscrupulous persons, they do accept worship from such common mass of innocent people or ignorant people who offer them worship as the supreme lord. So sometimes there are many bogus gurus who say that I don't call myself the supreme lord, but what can be done, my followers call me, uh, refer to me as the supreme person. But even if they may refer to that person as the supreme person, what action are they taking from their side to remove that delusion, to remove that confusion from their disciples? They are not doing any action. In fact, they are accepting that worship being offered by such ignorant people. So both are at fault. So that particular verse that I was mentioning, those people who are of this category of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, they take pleasure in praising other people of the similar class. Why similar class? Because they accept such worship which is not actually due to them. But Lord Brahma is not such a personality. He is very honest and he is a pure devotee of the Lord. So he is refusing to accept these false praise, not exactly false praise, but praise given by Narada Muni in bewilderment. He is not accepting that. And he is giving credit where it is due by mentioning that I am able to perform the service of secondary creation only based on the capability given by the Lord. And this particular service of creation, actually, this creation has already been done by the Supreme Lord. Any questions, comments, or thoughts, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, on this specific point? Hare Krishna. All right. So we will proceed to the next verse. Gita Mataji, Hare Krishna, you want to recite?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams.
Dandos Mataji.
Vilajjamanaya yasya
Vilajjamanaya yasya
statutam mikshapate muya
tatum
Tatumikshapate muya.
vimohita vikatante
vimohita kathante
mamaham iti durdiyaha.
mama iti durdiya.
Translation: the illusory energy of the Lord cannot take precedence, being ashamed of her position, but those who are bewildered by her always talk nonsense, being absorbed in thoughts of it is I and it is mine. Purport, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. Complete purport.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The invincibly powerful deluding energy of the personality of Godhead, or the third energy representing nescience, can bewilder the entire world of animation, but still she is not strong enough to be able to stand in front of the Supreme Lord. Nescience is being behind the personality of Godhead, where she is powerful enough to mislead the living beings, and the primary symptom of bewildered persons is that they talk nonsense. Shall I continue?
Yeah, continue, Mother.
Nonsensical talks are not supported by the principles of Vedic literatures, and first-grade nonsense talk is. It is I, it is mine. A godless civilization is exclusively conducted by such false ideas and such persons without any factual realization of God, except a false God or falsely declared themselves to be God to mislead persons who are already bewildered by the deluding energy. Those who are before the Lord, however, and who surrender unto Him, cannot be influenced by the deluding energy. Therefore, they are free from the misconception of it is I, it is mine, and therefore they do not accept a false God or pose themselves as equal to the Supreme Lord. Identification of the bewildered person is distinctly given in this verse. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother. Hare Krishna. So here, the word that is used in the verse is Vilajya Manaya Yasya. Vilajya Manaya, Srila Prabhupada translates as because that specific personality, the Maya potency, is ashamed of standing in front of the Lord, so she is always Sthatum Iksha Pathe Muya. She is always standing behind the Lord as the shadow of the Lord. And we saw this specific point in the example of Srila Vyasadev, that after Srila Vyasadev in chapter number 5 and 6 of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, after he was enlightened by his spiritual master Narada Muni, and who analyzed and gave him the cause of his despondency within his heart and the dissatisfaction within his heart. And then after Narada Muni left and Srila Vyasadeva meditated upon the Supreme Lord based on the instruction of his spiritual master, then he fixed his mind upon the Lord, and when he got his darshan, he saw the absolute personality of Godhead, Supreme Lord Krishna, along with his external energy. And in the subsequent verses it is explained that this external energy of the Lord, Maya potency, was standing behind the Lord. And here it is mentioned this Maya potency which was under full control of the Lord. So can we think of any other example, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, where somebody, any specific powerful personality, tried to influence the Supreme Lord with the Maya Shakti, with the illusory potency, and it could not act only because the Maya potency is completely subservient to the Lord? Can we think of any example? Take a minute to think and then raise your hands, those who want to answer. Where a powerful personality tried to influence the Supreme Lord with the Maya Shakti, but he could not be influenced.
Indra Prabhuji?
Indra, okay. Can you elaborate slightly?
He hijacked some coward boys, his Krishna's friends, and he
Lord
kept
Brahma.
yeah.
Lord Brahma.
Yeah, Lord Brahma.
Okay, yeah. So in that scenario, Lord Brahma did not actually influence Krishna with the Maya potency, but he tried to take test. He tried to validate that how can this small coward boy can be the Supreme Lord. So he wanted to test the Lord, that is he really the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So any other example we can think of? There is one very glaring example where somebody directly tried to influence the Supreme Lord through the illusory energy, but nothing happened because the Supreme Lord is the master and the Maya Shakti is always subservient.
Prabhuji, Putana did.
Okay, can you explain?
Yes, Putana tried to feed baby Krishna her breast milk and he realized that, he sucked out all the life energy out of her.
Right. So, okay. So, in case of Putana, she wanted to kill Krishna, right? So she wanted to kill Krishna, considering him as, of course, she knew that he is not an ordinary child, but she still had the audacity to try and kill the child, and ultimately she got purified. But she did not exactly try to have Lord be influenced by the Maya Shakti. She did not try to disillusion the Lord or put the Lord under illusion. There was one particular personality who tried to literally put the Lord under illusion, but he did not succeed.
Is it Shishupala, Prabhu?
Shishupal, okay, can you elaborate, Mataji?
Yeah, he keep on doing mistakes. Means in fact knowing Krishna is a god, and he was keep on doing till his 100 mistakes, and after that Krishna killed him like that.
Right. So Shishupal, first cousin of Krishna, he was envious towards the Lord, and from his very childhood, the very first set of words that he learned to speak was blasphemy of Lord Krishna. But subsequently, his mother specifically, she begged Krishna to forgive her child, and Krishna agreed for that condition that till the time he doesn't, without a gap, doesn't blaspheme him more than 100 times, then he would be protected. But as soon as that number crosses 100, he will be punished. So Shishupal, again, he was envious, but he did not try to impose upon the Lord the illusory energy or cause him delusion. Right. So I'll give a hint. Now it should be very easy that this particular personality who tried to influence the Lord with the Maya Shakti, that specific, there is one hand raised. Gunavati Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pranam. So, Prabhuji, is it Paundraka?
Paundraka, okay. Can you elaborate?
He was trying to imitate Krishna himself and saying that he himself is
Supreme Lord.
Supreme
Vishnu.
Lord, yeah.
Yeah. So Paundraka, he was a very funny personality. His name comes in Bhagavatam, that he really thought that he is Krishna, and he thought that the real Krishna in Dwarka, he was an, what is that word called? He was a imposter. Real Krishna was an imposter, and he considered, Paundraka considered himself as the Supreme Lord. So he was under delusion, but he never tried to put Krishna in delusion. Okay, so this specific example that I was considering is actually Cupid trying to release his arrows upon Naranarayan Rishi and trying to tempt Naranarayan Rishi by presenting before Naranarayan Rishi all the different apsaras that Indra had sent to distract him, distract Naranarayan Rishi's attention. And Cupid, he specifically got extremely afraid when Naranarayan Rishi did not have a slightest bit of distraction or temptation looking at these heavenly beauties. Why? Because anybody remembers what was the previous incident when Cupid committed a misconduct and he was burnt into ashes? What was that specific pastime? Was it with Lord Shiva?
He was,
Who,
yes.
yeah, who got very angry at the Cupid and he was burned to ashes. And Cupid had that fresh in his mind. He thought that, oh my God, this time, second time, I have committed a great mistake. And what might happen now if Supreme Lord Krishna really desires to punish? But that is the Supreme Lord. He did not, Naranarayan Rishi did not get upset or angry at Cupid, but he simply smiled at his, audacity of audacity in trying to illusion the Supreme Lord, who is the master of all illusory potencies. And from his thighs, Naranarayan Rishi brought out so many beautiful damsels in front of whose beauty, the beauty of the heavenly damsels was insignificant in front of the apsaras that were created from the thighs of Naranarayan Rishi. And he asked Cupid to pick any apsara that he likes from that set of new damsels. And then Urvashi was brought to heavenly planet as a gift from Naranarayan Rishi to Indra. So point is, whenever any ordinary personalities, they try to influence the Supreme Lord in some way or other, it can never act, because the Supreme Lord is always the master of all the illusory potencies. And funny part is, Cupid, he really learned his lesson that I should have never tried to influence the Supreme Lord with the Maya potency. But Indra, what did he do? Did he think that, did he feel embarrassed that, of course, he might have felt, no doubt about it, but he did accept that gift from Naranarayan Rishi and kept Urvashi in the heavenly kingdoms as the gift from Naranarayan Rishi. So, point is, the Supreme Lord is always the master of the illusory energy, and no matter what, the illusory energy is always subservient. What is that word's use? Vilajayate. That means she is embraced. She is 14. Yeah. Oops. What was the verse number? Prabhuji's Mataji's?
13.
13, sorry, yeah. Vilajamanaya. That means the illusory energy of the Lord is ashamed to come in front of the Lord. She is always behind the Lord in the shadow. Any questions or comments, Prabhuji's Mataji's, to share on this specific topic? All right. So let me just see the slides. Yeah. Was it Gita Mataji who was reciting? Oh, sorry, Tarini Mataji, who was the devotee?
Yes, Prabhu.
Gita.
It's Gita.
Gita. Yeah. You can recite this last verse. Devasya Mayaya Sprushta.
Devasya Mayaya Sprushta ye chanyad asad ashritah brahmayate dhirna tad
Vakye.
vakye atmani uptatmano haro.
Thank you. Mother. In translation?
Under no circumstances can the words of persons bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord deviate the intelligence of those who are completely surrendered souls. Uddhava's statement in SB 3.2.10. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother. So, not just the Supreme Lord who cannot be bewildered by the illusory energy, even the great devotees who have completely surrendered themselves to the Supreme Lord, they also can never be bewildered by these words of these people who are influenced by the Maya potency. So, they also can never be bewildered. So we will proceed. So in regard to this last verse we saw on this slide, I remember one particular boy when I was studying engineering in second year and all, we used to go to the hostel to try to invite students to come and attend programs in the base Bhaktivedanta Academy for Culture and Education. And one such boy, a very intelligent boy, I still remember his name, uh, he used to come to attend programs, and he was a very bright student and very inquisitive about spiritual life also, apparently. But one time when we went to invite him for the program in base center, he gave a very fulfilled 2 pages letter for the devotee speaker who used to conduct the program, and the wordings of the letters were all philosophical. And to be honest, we at that particular point in time thought that it is some intellectual question and answers or arguments between two great personalities. So we were not fully able to comprehend. But as soon as this devotee preacher read through the letter, he immediately concluded that this particular person has Mayavadi impressions or understandings, and as a result, he is not fully committed or ready to hear the personal glorification of the Lord or the philosophy of um, uh, Dvaitavad, or how Lord Krishna is different from the spirit souls, from the Jiva souls. So, of course, we just don't preach Dvaitavad, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us a principle of Achintya Bheda Abheda, that how we are qualitatively same as the Lord, but quantitatively very minute, versus Lord being Vibhu, Lord being great. So, point is, such persons who are totally surrendered to the Lord, they can never be influenced by those people who are influenced by the illusory energy. So the words of such illusion people, they can never bewilder devotees. That is the point. So we come back. Are we on track, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Is it too confusing? Hare Krishna. Are we okay?
Yes.
Sanjukta Mataji, Usha Mataji, Dhanya Dhameshwari.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay.
Let us proceed. Usha Mataji, did you
Prabhuji.
recite or?
Hare
No,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. I'm
Hare
not-
Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
I have written that in the chat. Is it the same shloka, Prabhuji, what you are referring?
Let me check. 1 second. How do I check the chat?
2.3.19.
2319. 1 second. Let me check. I think 2319 is the one which I have also quoted, but if I remember correctly, that is not the one which I was looking. No, yeah. So exactly, this is the word, the verse that you mentioned, right, Mataji? I have also quoted
Yeah,
it.
so exact words I could get only from that.
Okay.
You were asking not to find out from other
Yeah. I was requesting the other verse. Hang on, 1 second. Yeah. So this same verse I have mentioned here, 2319, but
Yeah.
it is not the verse. The other verse is where the men of the characteristics or character of cats, dogs, camels, and asses, they praise other people with the similar characteristic. All right, no worries. So we proceed to text 14. Usha Mataji, you want to recite?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Dravyam karma cha kalascha.
Dravyam karma cha kalascha.
Svabhavo jiva eva cha.
Svabhavo jiva eva cha.
Vasudevat paro brahman.
Vasudeva paro
Brahman.
Na chanyo ritosti tatvataha.
Nachanurto asti tatvatah.
Translation.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. The 5 elementary ingredients of creation, the interaction thereof set up by eternal time, and the intuition on nature of the individual living beings are all differentiated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and in truth, there is no other value in them.
Thank you, Mataji. So before we go to the purport, let's try to understand the verse. What Brahmaji is saying here, Dravyam. Dravyam is the 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Dravyam. Then the interaction of these 5 gross elements. So to explain this interaction, of course, this is all given in Bhagavatam, but we will just quickly see that these interactions of the 5 gross elements, how does it happen? In the form of the universe, in the unmanifested form, coming out of the pores of Mahavishnu or Karanodakshay Vishnu, which is called as Pradhana. Pradhana is transformed into Mahat Tattva by the influence of Kala Shakti, and this Mahat Tattva, through the influence of Kala Shakti, the time factor, again 24 elements of material creation are manifested. And I have given a list of these 24 elements, which are 5 gross elements, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, and 5 sense object, and the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, ego, and uncontaminated consciousness. So these are mentioned as 24 elements. If you leave aside false ego, remaining elements are 23. And time factor, Kala Shakti of the Lord, is mentioned sometimes as the 25th element. So here Brahmaji is beginning to answer after clearing the false misconceptions, false conceptions of Narada Muni. Brahmaji is beginning to attend to the original inquiries by Narada Muni with regard to soul, super soul, and the universe. And within these 3 categories, first he takes the questions about the universe. So first question was, Yat Rupam, describe what are the characteristics of these universes, or who creates various characteristics of these universes. So answer to this specific question is, it is Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayan who is behind the creation of all the characteristics of these universes, including what type of characteristics? Dravyam, the 5 elements, interaction of these 5 elements, karma, Kala, the time factor, and Swabhava, the very inert nature of the, not inert, inner, the very natural inner nature, Swabhava of the living entities, Swabhava Jiva. It is all due to Supreme Lord as the real cause. So we'll go through the highlighted part of the purport. Let me see. No, purport is okay, not too big. Usha Mataji, we can go through the complete purport.
Yes, Prabhuji. Purport: this phenomenal world is impersonally the representation of Vasudeva, because the ingredients of its creation, their interaction, and the enjoyer of the resultant action, the living being, are all produced by the external and internal energies of Lord Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.4 to 5. The ingredients, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, as well as the conception of material identity, intelligence, and the mind, are produced of the external energy of the Lord. The living entity who enjoys the interaction of the above gross and subtle ingredients as set up by the external time is an offshoot of internal potency with freedom to remain either in the material world or in the spiritual world. In the material world, the living entity is enticed by deluding nescience, but in the spiritual world, he is in the normal condition of spiritual existence without any delusion. The living entity is known as the marginal potency of the Lord. But in all circumstances, neither the material ingredients nor the spiritual parts and parcels are independent of the personality of Godhead Vasudeva. For all things, whether products of the external, internal, or marginal potencies of the Lord, are simply displays of the same effulgence of the Lord, just as light, heat, and smoke are displays of fire. None of them is separate from the fire. All of them combine together to be called fire. Similarly, all phenomenal manifestations, as well as the effulgence of the body of Vasudeva, are his impersonal features, whereas he eternally exists in his transcendental form called Satchidananda, Vigraha, distinct from all conceptions of the material ingredients mentioned above. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here it is mentioned, Srila Prabhupada gives reference to 7th chapter, text number 4 and 5. Which are these texts, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? All of us remember, Bhumir Apo Nalo Vayur Kham Mano Buddhir Evacha. And in the next verse, Krishna says, Para itis Stvanyam. I don't recollect the text number 5.8, but the translation says, that beyond this is a apara shakti, is a, sorry, not apara, a para shakti. Beyond this is the soul, which is beyond the, which is superior to the material energy. Soul is called as the marginal energy. And what is the internal energy? Internal energy is the pleasure potency, or the spiritual world. It constitutes the internal energy of the Lord. And the matter in this material world constitutes the material energy. And jiva is the superior, is the marginal energy which is superior to material energy, but in between material energy and the superior internal energy of the Lord. Why it is called as marginal energy? Because the jiva soul has the tendency and capability both either to come under the influence of material energy, Maya Shakti, or to be under the influence of superior energy, the Yoga Maya potency of the Lord. That's why it is called as marginal energy. It is between the two, between the material energy and the internal energy, the superior energy of the Lord. So all behind all this, Lord Vasudev is mentioned as the cause behind all these characteristics. So some of these text might seem a bit technical, but as we mentioned in the beginning of Canto number 2, that this Canto does have some of the technical chapters and explanations, and we should still try to understand it to the best of our ability for our own purification. Hare Krishna. Shama Gopika Mataji, you wanted to share something?
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandos Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I just had a question. Like, means normally, always we say that tathastha energy, which is like marginal energy, is we can go under, I can go under the influence of internal potency or the external potency, right? So, what does it actually mean, Prabhu? I mean, practically.
What does it actually mean is we have the freedom and ability if we want to serve the external energy or Maya Shakti by being engaged in the services of the matter, by being engaged in trying to enjoy the matter. So this is being under the external energy of the Lord, being under the Maya Shakti. Or we have the free will if we want to engage in the service of the Lord, which is being under the internal energy or superior energy of the Lord. So because we have this freedom, we have this free will to be engaged in either way, either to trying to enjoy the matter or trying to serve the Lord. So that is the engagement in the inferior energy or external energy versus engagement in the superior energy or internal energy of the Lord.
Okay. Okay.
That is
Okay.
my limited understanding and what I have heard, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the living entity as a marginal energy, it has got that minute independence, and the misuse of that minute independence causes us to come to this material world. And sometimes, to be honest, even I have thought about this, that best is not to have such independence which can cause us to go away from the Lord. But it is Krishna's nature that he wants us to have that independence and make the right use of that independence. He does not want us to be like, programmed soul, that we will do only what has been programmed. He wants us to rightly use our free will. Hare Krishna. Can we proceed, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Hare Krishna. So this 24, 25 or 23 elements, don't get confused by the different numbers. I have given the complete list. If you take away consciousness, the element remain 23. But here false ego plus 23 elements is mentioned, which means if you consider consciousness but take away false ego, the number will become 23. And if you include everything within 24 plus the time factor, it will become 25 elements. So it is all consistent across the scriptures. The numbers might vary based on what list is considered. Okay? Any confusion about the material elements, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? All right. So maybe just for correct sequence, I will take sense objects after the working senses. Then it is easier to remember the sequence. So we go to the first question is answered, then we go to the next question. So next two set of verses, question number 2 and question number 5 from the list of 6 questions that Narada Muni asked about the universe are covered. So second number question was Yat Adhishthanam. What is the background or shelter of this universe? And question number 5 was Yat Param. What does this creation, what does this universe depend upon? These were the questions, and answers to these questions Brahmaji gives now. Who is the next devotee to recite? Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Sanjukta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Dandas Mataji. Sorry, 1 second. Yes, 15.
Narayana para Veda.
Narayana Paraveda.
Deva Narayana Angasya.
Deva Narayana Angajah.
Narayana Paraloka.
Narayana Paraloka.
Narayana Paramakha.
Narayana Paramaha.
Translation.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Vedic literature are made by and are meant for the Supreme Lord. The demigods are also meant for serving the Lord as part of his body. The different planets are also meant for the sake of the Lord. The different sacrifices are performed just to please him.
Thank you. Thank you, man. And you can also recite text 16. So we'll discuss these two together.
Okay. Narayana para yoga.
Narayana paro yogo.
Narayana param tapa.
Narayana Paramtapa.
Narayana param jnanam.
Narayana Param Jnanam.
Narayana paragatihi.
Narayana Paragatihi.
This translation, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
All the different types of meditations or mysticism are meant for realizing Narayana. All austerities are aimed at the achieving Narayana. Culture of transcendental knowledge is for getting a glimpse of Narayana, and ultimately salvation is entering the kingdom of Narayana.
Thank you, Mataji. So the purports are a bit long. First, we would explain the skeleton of the purport. So in this specific two set of verses, there are 8 elements listed by Shukadev Goswami. What is the background shelter and what does this cosmic manifestation or the universe depend upon? So Shukadev Goswami mentions how Lord Narayan is the shelter of everything. Everything is dependent upon the Lord, including these 8 different elements. Which are these? Narayana Para Veda. That means Lord Krishna or Lord Narayan is the ultimate shelter, ultimate goal of understanding all the Vedas. And Srila Prabhupada, as part of his purport to text number 15, he gives reference to this very famous verse from Bhagavad Gita. According to Vedanta Sutras, the Supreme Lord is the author of all revealed scriptures, and all revealed scriptures are for knowing the Supreme Lord. So which is that famous verse, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, from Bhagavad Gita? That
15.15.
Sarvasya chaham
Sarvasya chaham rati sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo vedanta vitkrit veda vichaham.
Thank you, man. Vedanta krutve davideva chaham. That Krishna is all the Vedic scriptures are ultimately mean to understand Krishna. So that's how he is the ultimate shelter of all the Vedas. Similarly, Krishna is the ultimate shelter of all the Devatas, all the Devas. And in this regard, read this specific statement by Srila Prabhupada. Where is that statement? Where Srila Prabhupada mentions that even for the Devatas, all the, yes, here, without Lord's relation, worship of the Devatas, demigods, is unauthorized, avidhi purvakam, just as it is improper to water the leaves and branches of a tree without watering its root. So in the Srila Prabhupada is indirectly giving reference to a that famous verse 923 from Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that even when somebody worships Devatas, it is he only who is giving the faith, and that person is ultimately worshipping Krishna only, even through the worship of those Devatas. But that worship of Krishna through the Devatas is avidhi purvakam. It is indirect and not a proper, correct way of worshipping Krishna. It is indirect worship of Krishna, avidhi purvakam. So here Srila Prabhupada is giving reference in the purport. So all the Devatas ultimately are under the shelter, they are residing on the under the shelter of Lord Krishna, and worship to the Devatas ultimately means indirect worship to Krishna, but it is avidhi purvakam, it is not a proper worship. Third type of elements which is based on Lord Krishna, which is under the shelter of Lord Krishna, are all the planet. So on the right hand side, I have shown all the 14 planetary systems. So how are these planetary systems divided? Typically, not 100%, but there can be some exceptions. So all these 14 planetary systems are divided based on the consciousness of the living entities, where the living entities in the higher planetary system are more independent and more evolved in their consciousness, in their understanding towards Lord Krishna, than the residents of the lower planetary system. That means the residents of the Rasatal Loka are more independent and more evolved in their consciousness than those in the Patala Loka. And then Mahata Loka is one step higher and higher. And ultimately, the top four, starting with Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka, these are the spiritually topmost advanced personalities, even in that particular order. And Satyaloka, or which is also called as Brahmaloka, is where Lord Brahma resides. And since he is a pure devotee of the Lord, it is mentioned that at the end of his life, all the residents of Satyaloka, there can be some exceptions. If somebody is harboring desire to enjoy in this material world, they can be left behind. Otherwise, in general, all the residents of the Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, along with Lord Brahma, they return back home, back to Godhead at the end of Lord Brahma's life. Because Brahmaji is pure devotee, his associates, they also practice Krishna consciousness fully, residing in Satyaloka. So in this manner, we see all these planets are also, and the residents of those planets are also under the shelter. They are based upon Lord Narayan. So he is omniscient, he is shelter for them as well. The next is Makaha, all sacrifices. All sacrifices are ultimately meant for the pleasure, for the satisfaction of Lord Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada in this purport also refers to that famous verse. Where is that? Can anyone mention what is the verse I am referring to, where it is mentioned Lord Krishna is the ultimate goal, all the sacrifices are meant for him? What is the verse? Famous verse. You can search. Anyone?
10.25 Prabhuji.
3.9.
3.9.
Yagyarthat karmano. Check if the number is correct. Yagyarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. That ultimately all sacrifices are meant for yagyartat, for the pleasure and satisfaction of Lord Krishna. And if we don't perform our work as a sacrifice for Lord Krishna, that some same work will become cause of our bondage. So here it is mentioned, all the sacrifices are also ultimately meant for Krishna. Similarly, all yoga, so yoga, the word comes from the Sanskrit verb or dhatu called yuj. Yuj means to connect ourselves with soul to the super soul. So yoga, all types of yogas are ultimately meant to achieve Krishna. Tapaha, yagya, dana and tapaha, austerities, charity, and what is the third? Sacrifices. All these are meant for achieving Lord Krishna or satisfaction of Lord Krishna. All types of culture of transcendental knowledge is ultimately meant to achieve Lord Krishna. And last one, Gati Hi. Srila Prabhupada mentions, translates this as progressive path. So different types of transcendentalists, their process may be different. Their ultimate, not ultimate, but goal to be achieved as a result of that particular transcendental path of transcendental realization may be different, but ultimate goal is one. That goal is Krishna. So what are the different types of transcendentalists, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Anyone? Especially those who have not answered. What are the different types? Feel free to unmute. Anyone? Yes? Don't feel scared. Nobody will judge you. Simple question. Who are the various types of transcendentalist?
Nitya Siddhas.
Okay, so Nitya Siddhas, eternally liberated soul, right? Maybe I asked the question wrongly. I should ask, what are the different paths of transcendental realization? How many paths are there? Like we have the
4 paths.
Yes, Mataji, can
3
you
parts.
mention? Okay, both are correct, 4 and 3. So which are the 4 and which are the 3?
The 3 are the Brahman, the Paramatma, and the Bhagavan realization.
Bhagavan.
Very nice. These are the goals, right? And which path lead to these goals? Which specific path leads to Brahman?
Impersonal, Prabhuji. Jnana.
Yes, Jnana, correct. So Jnanis, those who are on the Jnana Marga, for them the Gati is uh, the impersonal effulgence, bodily effulgence coming out from the body of Krishna. Brahma Jyoti is the Gati for Jnanis. Similarly, who are the
Yogis.
category? Yes,
Yogis
yogis.
lead to Paramatma.
Very nice. So yogis, specifically Ashtanga yogis, their gati is the Paramatma realization, right? Brahman Paramatma. And for bhaktas, for the devotees, the gati is the Supreme Personality
Bhagavan
of
realization.
Bhagwan realization. So all these 3 types of transcendentalists, ultimately their gati or shelter is also Lord Krishna. And example is given, just like, say for example, milk is there and we want to appreciate the various characteristics of milk. We can appreciate by smelling the pure milk. You can really feel the smell even when we are boiling and all. Or to touch, like when it is boiled and has got a cream over it, then it has a very soft oily touch. Or we can, what, apart from touch, we can see the milk and appreciate the characteristic. But ultimately, if we have to appreciate the milk, then we have to taste or we have to drink, then we can fully appreciate what is milk. So similarly, all these progressive paths of transcendental realization, they are like trying to understand Krishna in part, like somebody who has touched but who has not tested, who has seen but who has not touched or tested. They would know or they can appreciate milk to a gradual level of degree. Similarly, all these transcendentalists can also appreciate Krishna to gradual level of clarity based on their realization of Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. So ultimately, Lord Krishna is also the shelter for all types of progressive paths for transcendental realization, Gati. So all these 8 elements Brahmaji mentions, Lord Krishna is the shelter for all these. So he covers these in 15 and 16. Now purport is bit long, so we would just go through the highlighted part. Uh, who was Sanjukta Mataji? You were reciting, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
So you can go through the 1 second. Yes, you can start from the highlighted part, Mataji.
The Supreme Lord is the author of all the revealed scriptures, and all revealed scriptures are for knowing the Supreme Lord. The Vedas are made just to revive the forgotten consciousness of the conditioned soul, and any literature not meant for reviving God consciousness is rejected at once by the Narayana para devotee. Such
Sorry. Yeah.
such deluding books of knowledge, not having Narayana as their aim, are not at all knowledge, but are the playground for crows who are interested in the rejected refuse of the world.
Thank you, Mataji. So in this specific highlighted part, the pink one, which specific verse Srila Prabhupada is referring to? You need not remember the exact verse, but even if you mention the context or plain English, that would suffice. Can we think of any section of Bhagavatam where it is mentioned that that literature, even if it is beautifully composed with all alankaras and everything, if it does not lead to glorification of the Supreme Lord, it is a place of pilgrimage for the crows. It is
It's
not.
Mundane
Yeah.
literature.
Yes, it is mundane literature. Correct. Which section?
I think it was chapter 2 of Canto 1, where Narada Muni gives the
Critical analysis
critical analysis of
of Vyasadeva's.
Vyasadevas.
Yeah.
Towards, I think, the last couple of slokas. I don't
Yeah.
remember the
So
sloka
your
now.
context is correct. Chapter number is wrong, but that is immaterial. Context is correct. So yes, in the 5th chapter of first canto, when Narada Muni gives a critical analysis of Vyasadev's composition, he mentions Nayat Vachas Chitra Padam Harer Yasho, that a literature which does not do Harer Yasho, which does not do glorification of the Supreme Lord, even if it is Chitra Padam, it is composed very uh, with a grammatically correct and very beautiful language. If it does not glorify the Supreme Lord, what does it attract? Jagat Pavitram Pragranita Karhichit. That literature which glorifies the Supreme Lord, which can purify the entire world, but such literature is written with beautiful language, but without glorification of the Supreme Lord. Tat Vayasam Tirtham. Such literature becomes only the place which attracts the crows. Vayasam means crows. So such literature becomes just like the place of pilgrimage for the crows. That means they are attracted to the garbage. Such literature is also condemned by Narada Muni. So here Prabhupada in his purport, oops, 1 second. Yeah, in his purport, Srila Prabhupada is giving reference to uh, such literature as the place where crows which attract the materialist. Yeah. So this we already covered the Devata worship, but this purport is beautiful, bit long. I would request all of you to go through at your leisure. Let me see if any other point. Yeah. Sanjukta Mataji, go through the highlighted part.
Yes, Prabhuji. In meditation, there are two systems of yoga, namely Ashtanga Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is practiced in concentrating the mind, releasing oneself from all the engagements by the regulative process of meditation. Concentration, sitting postures, blocking the movement of the internal circulations of air, etc. Sankhya Yoga is meant to distinguish the truth from the mm,
Ephemerals.
ephemerals, but
Yeah.
ultimately both systems are meant for realizing the impersonal Brahman, which is but a partial representation of Narayana, the personalities of Godhead, the personality of Godhead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
So we proceed. I think rest part of the purport we have already covered through the slide, the 8 type of elements, how Lord Narayan is the ultimate Gati. Therefore, the conclusion is that Narayan or the personality of Godhead is the ultimate destination or Gati for all kinds of yoga systems as well as all kinds of liberation. So we proceed with, so now till now, Brahmaji has answered question number 1, question number 2, and question number 5, which were asked by Narada Muni in the beginning of the chapter. And now he is going to answer about the difference between the soul and the Supreme Lord. So that was also part of Narada Muni's inquiry, asking about the soul, the super soul, and the universe. So we will refer to text 17. Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Tasyapi drishtur ishashya
Tasyapi drashtur
Drashtur
shasya
utasa stasya stasya
kila
akhilatmanah
kutasthatya akhila manah
Manah
Srijam Srijami Srishto Aham. Ikshaya Iva Ivabi Choditaha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his vision as the all-pervading super soul, and I also am created by him only.
Thank you. Thank you, Mata. So here, referring to the earlier verse that we saw, text 11, where Brahmaji mentions Rochitam Rochayami Aham, that I am creating only on top of what has already been created by the Supreme Lord. Here also Brahmaji gives the due credit to the Supreme Lord by saying, Tasyapi Drashtur Ishayaha Ishasya, that I am only using the vision that Lord Narayan has granted me. That means I am only using the capacity that Lord Narayan has granted me to create, and only by using that capacity under his supervision, I am creating. I am basically creating the secondary creation. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives the beautiful example of Columbus. Srila Prabhupada mentions that Columbus, he is credited for discovering the Western Hemisphere, for discovering America. But that doesn't mean that that particular tract of land was not created or was not in existence before Columbus's discovery. It was definitely existing, but Columbus got the credit, Prabhupada mentions, because of some of his earlier pious activities or activities in service to the Lord. The Lord gave that credit to Columbus. Similarly, whenever the scientist discover something, it is not that that creation is lagging earlier on. It is completely in place. But because the scientist discovers that, by Krishna's grace, those scientists are given the credit. So we will see the conclusion, but let's go through the highlighted purport first.
Yes.
Yes, Mataj.
Yeah. Even Brahma, the creator of the universe, admits that he is not the actual creator, but is simply inspired by the Lord Narayana and therefore creates under his superintendence those things already created by him, the super soul of all living entities. It is said that Columbus discovered the Western Hemisphere, but actually the tract of land was not created by Columbus. The vast tract of land was already there by the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord, and Columbus, by dint of his past service unto the Lord, was blessed with the credit of discovering America. Similarly, no one can create anything without the sanction of the Lord, since everyone sees according to his ability. This ability is also awarded by the Lord according to one's willingness to render service unto the Lord. One must therefore be voluntarily willing to render service unto the Lord, and thus the Lord will empower the doer in proportion to his surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord.
Thank you, Mataj. So before we proceed, what is the important takeaway point of this section of purport? Prabhuji's, Mataji's, what is Srila Prabhupada explaining? What is he saying? That Lord Krishna empowers a personality based on his willingness to how much desperately that person wants to render service to him. Based on that will, based on that desire of the living entity, Lord Krishna will award him capability accordingly. That means, what is the first prerequisite from our side to advance in Krishna consciousness? What is the first prerequisite?
Willingness, Prabhuji.
Willingness to serve. So even if we may be incapable to render a specific service, at least we should have a desire that Krishna, just if I had the capacity, along with what I am already doing, whatever capacity you have already given, that service I am rendering. But if at all I had this ABC capacity, I would have definitely would want to strive to render that service as well. In fact, I have heard a very inspiring statement by one of Srila Prabhupada's very senior disciples, His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj. In one of his books, Pearls of Wisdom, I read a very beautiful statement. Maharaj says that whenever some seva opportunities come to us, sometimes we are very protective and defensive whether we will be able to do that, and we go into so much overthinking that we are very reluctant to confirm our participation in that service, thinking how we will be able to do it or whether we will be able to perform it. But he says, of course, that is his realization and he is a pure devotee. uh, Maharaj says that first we should accept that service and then we should think, how am I going to perform that service? But if we are sincere, then Krishna will not leave us high and dry. He will give us the empowerment by which that commitment can be fulfilled. But he says we should not shy away, we should not stay back from accepting, for volunteering for that service. We should be very enthusiastic to confirm our participation. And that anxiety can be natural after we have committed. How am I going to deliver that service? So if we are sincere, Krishna will give us ability how we can deliver. Right? Let me think of any examples. Say, for example, when Srila Prabhupada went to West, many of his disciples, they were very raw in their specific skill set to drive those services. For example, Shama Sundar Prabhu, he was a trained carpenter. And what task Srila Prabhupada gave him? Srila Prabhupada did not ask him to make a door within his apartment or any other wooden work. Srila Prabhupada gave task to Shama Sundar Prabhu to carve the first deities of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. Such a humongous task. For an ordinary carpenter, you ask him to do, it won't be possible. But it became possible because of the empowerment given by the spiritual master. Whatever small skills this devotee had learnt earlier, they came to use in such a grandeur manner that ISKCON got its first set of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra deities, which Shyamasundar Prabhu prepared by seeing the very small, this big 2-inch deities that Malati Prabhu had brought from the gift shop. Looking at those small deities, Shyamasundar Prabhu, he sculpted big Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadramai. Similarly, there was another devotee in our, there is, I don't know whether Mataji is still on this earth or she already left, but Her Grace Jadurani Mataji, one of the illustrious disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Many of the BBT paintings, Prabhuji's Mataji's, we find in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Jadurani Mataji was one of the foremost devotees contributing to these paintings. And do you know what was Mataji's qualification in professional painting? Almost zero, nothing. But Prabhupada, her spiritual master, gave her that instruction that you paint. Can you imagine Prabhuji's Mataji, even if we do painting courses for 10 years or 50 years, I myself could never imagine painting such beautiful, drawing such beautiful paintings of Radha Krishna pastimes as Jadurani Mataji has drew. Why? Because two things. One was the instruction of the spiritual master, pure devotee, and second was the willingness of these disciples to surrender to those instructions. And that made such work possible, which is inhuman. Materially speaking, it is not possible. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, very honest questions. How many of us had seen that beautiful photo of Radha and Krishna as we have seen in Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhuji's Mataji's? Can we answer, can we think of any other photos before coming to ISKCON as beautiful, real, and even of the spiritual world? Can we think of any photos? Not at all. So from where has it all been manifested? From the desire of a sincere soul to surrender to Supreme Lord Krishna and surrender to the instructions of the spiritual master. So here, Bhagavatam is saying that once Krishna sees the desire of the living entity to volunteer to render such services, then he empowers them to perform such wonderful services. That is the takeaway point. Any questions, comments on this, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Hare Krishna. Is this point clear? The highlighted one, blue and the pink. Shall we proceed? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, 1 second.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, so, yes,
Shall I
Mataji.
Yeah.
Yes.
The battle of Kurukshetra or any other battle at any place or at any time is made by the will of the Lord, for no one can arrange such mass annihilation without the sanction of the Lord.
Yeah,
Devotees.
so this part also I was thinking while highlighting this. That means directly or indirectly, even the battles in the current worldly situations, it is an arrangement of the Lord. It doesn't mean that we don't make an effort to stop the massacre and killing of the innocent people, but ultimately because of this greed and greed by the leaders of the society to increase their influence, expand their influence, all these battles are happening. But one thing is very sure, these have sanction of the Lord, only then these are happening, so that so many mass of, we can't say all of those killed are unscrupulous, but a much greater mass of people who Krishna wants to annihilate, they also get annihilated, and along with them innocent people also get killed. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, devotees like Brahma and Arjuna do not do anything on their own account, but as fully surrendered souls, they always await indications from the Lord. Therefore, they attempt to do something which appears very wonderful to ordinary vision. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So last question on this particular context. Can we think of example of a devotee, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, and of course, some of which we discussed in context to surrendering to the uh, instruction and empowerment by Krishna. We saw example of Jadurani Mataji, Shama Sundar Prabhu, etc. Can we think of any other example of devotees who apparently took up a task which was completely out of their bounds, completely out of their capacities or even imaginations. But they took it, and by the grace of Krishna, they were able to do it. You can give example from the contemporary life, or you can give the example from the Shastras as well, from Srila Prabhupada's life, etc. Shama Gopika Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, the first and foremost example is like Srila Prabhupada himself. He only received the instruction from his Guru Maharaj to preach in West, but he didn't have any means or resources to do that.
Right.
And but still, like he was so successful in his mission that now like whole world, like there is Nam Sankirtan going on.
Very nice, Mataji.
Yeah.
And it is a very wonderful story for all of us to recollect or understand how Srila Prabhupada got traction in terms of going to West, going to US. Shama Gopika Mataji, are you aware how did Srila Prabhupada get the invitation letter? What was the
Yes,
yes, yeah, can you
yes,
explain?
Prabhu. He had met one person in the cafe, and just one time, and then from that person he came to know that his son is actually staying in
US.
America, and then he requested him that can your son give me like write a letter to invite me to USA so that I can get a visa.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Mataji. So this
Okay.
particular gentleman, I'm not remembering, Gopal Agarwal's father, he was Srila Prabhupada's friend and acquaintance from Mathura. And one time, while walking with Srila Prabhupada, this person was ruing. He was basically lamenting that he had only one son, and he had also gone to America and settled there. And Srila Prabhupada very casually asked that I want to go to West to fulfill the instruction of my spiritual master. Will it be possible for you to ask your son to send me an invitation letter? And that conversation happened, few months went by, and no follow-up action or no follow-up from Srila Prabhupada. It is not that Prabhupada followed up few times and that person also committed. He did not commit. But that conversation happened where this request was made by Srila Prabhupada casually to his friend and acquaintance. And Gopal Agarwal, the person who sent invitation to Srila Prabhupada, he mentions that somehow I got quite a few requests earlier from my father to invite some sadhus and all, but nobody literally used that invitation later while I had fulfilled my father's request. But in this case, after few months of that request by Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada got that invitation letter and followed up on that invitation letter to get visa and also to meet this lady. What was the West Scindia ship company's owner's name? What was that lady's name? Sumati Morarji. Sumati Morarji. Srila Prabhupada, we can't imagine few days back to back, I think at least more than one day, Srila Prabhupada sat on the stairs of the office of Sumati Morarji. So, because she was a very successful businesswoman at that point in time, first Prabhupada did not get attention. But then, seeing his perseverance to not move from that place, Sumati Morarji was informed by her staff that this particular sadhu is sitting on the stairs since yesterday. He is not leaving. So then she gave him appointment and brought him in. And Srila Prabhupada, when he first requested her for a passage on the cargo for US, she refused altogether by saying that Swamiji, you will die if you go in this fragile health because the weather in US is basically unforgiving. It's extremely cold. Your body will not be able to sustain. But Srila Prabhupada was persistent, mentioning that he needs to still endeavor because that was his spiritual master's instruction. And finally, she relented. She gave him a free to and fro ticket on the Jaladuta cargo ship, with a very specific instruction of arranging food, etc. on the ship for Srila Prabhupada. So point is, it was completely unprecedented. Of course, Srila Prabhupada's god brothers, four of Srila Prabhupada's god brothers, the disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they were sent by the Gaudiya Math institution to Britain earlier on to preach, but that effort, they stayed there for some time, but somehow it did not pick up at that point in time. But Srila Prabhupada, he did not get disheartened by so many reverses. Even when he got a ticket and he requested his godbrothers for help. After reaching US, he was writing letters to his godbrothers that today four people came to hear and they seemed very, very inquisitive, curious to learn, understand about Krishna. And I see great hope that our spiritual master desire can be fulfilled. Please send me Mridanga, please send me some trained brahmacharis, but he never got any response for any of those letters. So point is, despite so many limitations, externally speaking, still Srila Prabhupada tried his best to fulfill the instruction of his spiritual master, and ultimately Krishna and the Guru Parampara blessed him with unlimited success. To the level that, like last few sessions back we had mentioned, Prabhupada says that for one devotee who for a considerable period of time, exact duration Prabhupada mentions about 12 years, he only strictly follows the principles, honors prasadam, nothing else, properly, attentively chants, whatever he will speak, only truth will come out of his mouth. So what to speak of 12 years? Prabhupada was a pure representative of the Lord. So Krishna empowered him in such a way that whatever words would come out of his mouth, they were like Padma Vakya. They were like completely transforming the heart of people. And what to speak of then? Now I request Prabhuji's Mataji's, hear Srila Prabhupada's classes, and you will find, I have not found even to this date any devotee whose explanation resonates as much with what Srila Prabhupada says. When I hear him, even a simple concept or even a complex concept, Prabhupada makes it so simple with the help of supporting verses, etc., that you feel, oh my God, it is so straightforward to understand. Why? Because he has realized it. Our understanding, because of our impurities and slight contamination, it is still theoretical. But when a pure devotee, a realized devotee speaks, his words immediately resonate within the heart. Why? Because he has realized the truth. We can immediately feel the potency when we hear. It may be the same word we are saying and Prabhupada is saying, but what he says has much greater impact because of the purity. So thank you, Shama Gopika Mataji, for this example. Any other example, maybe one more, if possible. If not, we proceed. Anybody wants to share any other example of a devotee who tried for humongous task, which was totally out of bounds, but ultimately Krishna supported? Anything else?
Namanishta Prabhuji.
Namanishta Prabhuji. Yes. Namanishta Prabhuji mentions that when the COVID happened, Namanishta Prabhuji was meeting his spiritual master, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, and he mentioned to Maharaj that Prabhuji was not in a very high spirit because of not being able to go out and being constrained to stay in one place and not being able to do preaching and all. And Jayapataka Swami Maharaj very casually suggested to Namanishta Prabhuji, why doesn't he try preaching online? And both, see, that instruction may be very simple and casual, but credit also goes to Prabhuji for taking it so seriously, sincerely trying based on whatever limited resources he had. He mentions about 3 to 4 devotees, including Sridhar Prabhu himself and 2 more devotees. He took help to start this within one house, row house. Those of us who have seen the earlier temple before the current grand temple came up, it was a rented bungalow basically. And in that, the temple was there at that particular point in time. But Namanishta Prabhuji was not at all affected or disheartened. But now the overall such a grand temple came up through the that specific small initiative. So coming back to the point which was highlighted on the earlier page, it is very important to have that will to surrender to Krishna. And if we have that desire sincerely, then Krishna will also empower such a devotee. So we proceed. We'll cover at least 1 or 2 verses, Prabhuji. So this particular portion, text 17 onwards, Brahma is mentioning about the soul and the Supreme Lord, about these two from Narada Muni's inquiries. Text 18. Who is the next devotee to recite? Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
Can you recite, Prabhuji?
Okay. Tarini, Mataji, did you recite earlier?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, fine. You can recite. Yeah.
Sattvam rajastamayiti.
Sattvam
Rajastamayati
Nirgunasya gunastrayah.
Nirgunasya gunastrayah
Iti sarga nirodeshu.
Stiti
sarga
nirodeshu
Grihita mayaya vibhuhu.
Grihita mayaya vibhuhu.
Can you read the translation?
Yeah, translation.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: The Supreme Lord is pure, spiritual form, transcendental to all material qualities, yet for the sake of the creation of the material world and its maintenance and annihilation, He accepts through His external energy the material modes of nature called goodness, passion and ignorance.
Thank you, Mother. Before we go to the highlighted part of the purport, what is this verse explaining? What does Nirgunasya mean in general, referring to Krishna? Tarini Mataji?
Yes.
What in general, what does it mean? Nirgunasya?
Transcendence.
Correct. It means, yeah, in the translation, Prabhupada mentions transcendence, but it means somebody who is above, transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature.
Gunatit.
Gunatit, who is beyond the 3 modes of material nature. But such personality, for the sake of 3 tasks. Which are these 3 tasks? Let us change the sequence slightly. Instead of sthiti, sarga and nirodha, consider it as sarga, sthiti and nirodha. So sarga means the creation, sthiti means the maintenance, and nirodha means the annihilation. So for the creation, maintenance and annihilation, Lord Krishna accepts 3 forms, guna avtaras. And which are these guna avtaras, Tarini Mataji?
Mode of passion, goodness and ignorance.
Yeah, and who are the specific personalities?
Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
Brahma, Kshirodakasha Vishnu and
Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So he accepts this guna avtaras of Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva to perform these functions of sarga, the creation, sthiti, the maintenance, and nirodha, the annihilation, respectively. So Krishna is above the 3 modes, but he accepts a form within these 3 modes for performing these functions. Of course, Lord Vishnu is not exactly in the 3 modes, but he is performing a task which is relevant to mode of goodness, that is maintenance. So we see the highlighted, maybe we can go through the purport, Mataji. Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Purport: The Supreme Lord is the master of the external energy manifested by the 3 modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. And as master of this energy, he is ever unaffected by the influence of such bewildering energy. The living entities, the jivas, however, are affected by or susceptible to being influenced by such modes of material nature. That is the difference between the Lord, very wonderful to Lord and the living entities. The living entities are subjected by those qualities, although originally the living entities are qualitatively one with the Lord. In other words, the material modes of nature, being products of the energy of the Lord, are certainly connected with the Lord, but the connection is just like that between the master and the servants. The Supreme Lord is the controller of the material energy, whereas the living entities who are entangled in the material world are neither masters nor controllers. Rather, they become subordinate to or controlled by such energy. Factually, the Lord is eternally manifested by his internal potency or spiritual energy, just like the sun and its rays in the clear sky. But at times, he creates the material energy as the sun creates a cloud in the clear sky. As the sun is ever increasingly unaffected by a spot of cloud, so also the unlimited God is unaffected by the spot of material energy manifested at times in the unlimited span of the Lord's ray as of Brahmajyoti. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So here the example is given just like the cloud. Just like the cloud, it appears to cover the sun, but it cannot cover the sun because sun is much, many times uh, m- bigger than even the earthly planet. So the cloud itself is nothing in front of earth. So how can it cover the sun? But it covers only our ability to view the sun for a while, the cloud. So similarly, Krishna, for him, the Maya Shakti is just like a small spot and it can never cover the Lord, but it only covers our ability to see the Lord or perceive the Lord. So we'll proceed to the last verse for discussion today. Mangala Mai Mataji, Hare Krishna. You want to recite Mangala
Yes,
Mai
Prabhuji.
Mataji?
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे
कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे
द्राव्यज्ञानक्रियासर्याः
द्रव्यज्ञान क्रियाश्रयाः
द्रव्यज्ञानक्रियाश्रयः
बध्नादि मुक्तम्
बध्नन्ति नित्यदा मुक्तं
हीनं पुरुषं गुणाः
मायिनं
Mainam
पुरुषं गुणाः.
Translation.
Translation. These three modes of material nature, being further manifested as matter, knowledge, and activities, puts the eternally transcendental living entity under conditions of cause and effect, and make him responsible for such activities.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So here, coming back to the verse, refer to the words that are marked in yellow, blue, and pink. So words in the first and second line marked in yellow are correlated. Those marked in blue are correlated, and those marked in pink are correlated. So karya, karana, kartrutve. Karya means the basically whichever activities that a living entity is able to perform. Karana, karana is the cause behind those activities or ability to perform those activities. And kartutve, kartutve means the performance of those activities. So karya is dependent on the dravya, the elements that Lord Krishna provides to perform that particular karya. Karana is responsible, cause is responsible for Kriya Ashrayaha, for that Kriya to manifest. And Kartutve, the activities are dependent upon the knowledge to perform that particular activity. So, because of all these abilities and the elements, the underlying elements, raw elements that are provided by the Lord, the living entity is able to perform the activities. And while performing the activities, what happens? Badnanti nityada muktam. Badnanti, what is the translation? Puts the eternally transcendental living entity under conditions of cause and effect and makes him responsible for such activities. So the word that is used here to refer to the living entities is ma inam purusham gunaha. Purusham Typically, this Purusham word is used for the Supreme Lord, but here the word is used to refer to to the living entity, because the living entity is inclined to enjoy the material world or lord it over the material world. He is being referred to here as Purusha. Can we think of any other reference in the scripture which we saw in Bhakti Shastri, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, where the living entity is referred to as Purusha and not the Supreme Lord? Can we think of any other? You don't have to quote exact verse, but at least the section of the books that we studied.
Prabhuji, Bhagavad Gita chapter 13.
Perfect. Yes, Mataji. Can you explain slightly more? What is
I
the...
don't remember the verse number, Prabhu, but
Right. Yes, you are right. But the living entity there is also referred to as Purusham because... Very nice, Mataji. You can refer to the complete verse if it is in front.
The verse is 13.22, Prabhuji. I just saw.
Okay, okay. 1 second. Now let me open it. $13.22. Yeah. Purusha prakrutistho hi bhungte prakrutin jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sat asat yoni janmasu. That because of the nature of the living entity to lord it over the material nature and to enjoy the three modes of material nature, and because of association with this material nature, the living entity is put through Sat and Asat, higher and the lower species of life. So here also the soul, living entity, part and parcel of Krishna, is referred to as Purusha because of his mentality to lord it over the material nature and enjoy. So here also it is mentioned, Ma'inam Purusham Gunaha. 1 second. Yeah, just the highlighted part, Mataji.
Yes. This external energy of the Lord covers up the pure knowledge of the living entity, entities eternally existing with him. But the covering is so constant that it appears that the conditioned soul is eternally ignorant. Such is the wonderful action of Maya, or external energy, manifested as if materially produced.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So even in the explanation of the term Nitya Baddha, Srila Prabhupada mentions this logic that it is not that living entities are eternally bound or eternally conditioned, but they have been conditioned or under the influence of material energy for such a long period of time that it seems as good as infinity. It seems as good as eternity. So here also it is mentioned that this covering of the Maya Shakti has been in existence for so long that it seems like the living entities are eternally ignorant. And with this, we would conclude our discussion today. So we saw in today's discussion, after Lord Brahma, he clarifies the misconceptions of Narada Muni by explaining that I am not the supreme creator. I only create on top of what Krishna has given as the basic ingredients and ability for me to create on top of it as the secondary creator. And he mentions subsequently, then he answers the questions about the creation, the universe, question number 1, 2, and 5. Let us quickly go through those questions. Yeah, he answers questions about Yad Rupam, what are the characteristics of the universe, and we saw the Lord Vishnu is behind all the characteristics of this universe, including the 23, 24, or 25 elements that we see. And then we also saw Lord Brahma answering question number 2 and 5, related to what is the background shelter of this creation, to which Shukadev Goswami answers, Lord Brahma answers as everything, including Veda, Deva, Loka, Makha, Yoga, Tapa, Jnanam, and Gati, resting ultimately on the Supreme Lord. And then text 17 onwards, Lord Brahma mentioned the difference between the Supreme Lord versus the living entity, how living entity falsely considers it as Purusha enjoyer, and as a result becomes the cause of performing the activities which ultimately bound him or her to the result of those activities. Whereas the Supreme Lord is Nirguna, he is beyond the modes of material nature, and for the service, for the creation, maintenance, and annihilation, he does accept the Guna avtaras of Brahma, Vishnu, and Lord Shiva in order to create, maintain, and annihilate. So some of these might seem bit technical, but we try to still read, study, understand to the best of our abilities, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments, or thoughts to share by anyone? Hare Krishna. Is it boring or it is okay, Mataji's, Prabhuji's? Hare Krishna. Are we able to appreciate and still focus?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Perfectly fine.
Hare Krishna. So I would also try to include more examples, okay, so that it is easier to understand. I will try that further. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you all very much. And to be honest, for the weekend,
please.
Hare Krishna, Venkata Narsimha Prabhu.
Attendance link.
Attendance link, good question. 1 second, let me see if Rohini Mataji is there. But I have an attendance link that Rohini Mataji has shared on WhatsApp. So I will share it on the group, Prabhuji. You mark it there. Okay? I'll share it after the presentation. Hare Krishna.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
Vamcha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Vaishnav Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhuji. Thank you.